Welcome back to the channel. This is Thomas Goes Nostalgic, and in this episode we're going to be building a diorama for our X-Men HasLab Sentinel. The Sentinel first appeared in X-Men number 14 in September 1965. They were created by Dr. Bolivar Trask to eliminate any threat to humanity that he believed was caused by the increasing number of mutants. As we have seen in most stories of artificial intelligence, the Sentinels grew more intelligent and realized the only way to protect humanity was to rule it, which to Dr. Trask's surprise, then became the bigger threat to mankind. Now, we have seen multiple interpretations of the Sentinels in comics, television, video games, and film. They were featured quite often in X-Men the Animated Series and had some short screen time in X-Men The Last Stand before being prominently featured in the storyline of X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, in toy form, the Sentinels have definitely evolved over the years. Toy Biz released a large robot playset featuring the original X-Men line in the 90s. It featured launching arms and blast-away battle damage. I never had this as a kid, but I loved going over to some friend's house who did. Nothing was more fun than bringing your own X-Men heroes over to your friend's house and combining them with their figures to defeat the Sentinel. What a great playset. Later, Toy Biz would create a Sentinel Build-A-Figure which was based off of the Here Comes Tomorrow storyline, and when Hasbro took over the license for Marvel, it included two variations of Sentinels in their Marvel Universe line. All of these are still pretty pricey on the secondary market. But in July of 2020, Hasbro launched their crowdfunder HasLab, where over 20,000 backers supported the campaign to receive their very own 26-inch tall Sentinel, coming equipped with 4 heads, a battle-damaged hand, tentacle coils, and figures, a Bastion with alternate Sentinel Prime head and a female Sentinel Prime figure. Well, I was one of those 20,000 backers, and I knew I had to build a display for my HasLab Sentinel. So getting this thing out of the box, it is amazing. This is probably my biggest figure that I've ever had, both as a kid and as an adult collector. All the accessories, the extra figures, this was truly going to be the centerpiece of my collection room, and I couldn't wait to build a display for it. I usually like to start each diorama with a simple sketch, and as you can see, I'm quite the artist. This diorama would be going into my IKEA Detolf shelf, so I will be removing one of the shelves so that the Sentinel can be 2 stories tall. So once I had my concept, I removed the glass shelf and started measuring and cutting my foam. I knew at this point that all I had to do was just get a visual, and I can start cutting my foam. So it's time to start carving some brick. I'm going to start with the back panel, which is the height of the 2 shelves. This will go all the way in the back and lie flush against the back of the shelf. And as always, everything will get that prime of black acrylic paint and Mod Podge. And one of the things I did differently when painting was I started applying the color of the brick when some of the black primer wasn't quite dry. I think this added some dirty effect, which is really nice, especially before I give everything a black wash. Then I'm going to work on front and back, carving all of the brick of the smaller pieces. So this is pretty much the same idea with all of the pieces, carving the brick and the molding of the gray slate, and then we'll start adding the other pieces. Then I took that middle piece of foam that will be acting as the shelf. I carved some wood grain in it to make it look like wood floorboard, and then I cut a large hole in it that would act for the space of the Sentinel. You can see the piece that I cut out, and I'll save that for later, but right now I just want to put it on the shelf and see how everything fits. Now, one of the ideas I had when making this diorama was, what if I can flip the wood floor over and give an interior floor like black and white tile? So I went ahead and started carving those squares before I started painting them, and they came out great. Now, since this was an idea that I had after the fact, I had to color those squares and carve them after I already cut the hole. So that was a little tricky, but I was able to do it. I also wanted to make some of the side panels reversible as well, so I added some detail that would make them look like an interior. I added some molding and some wood grain to make it look like the inside of an apartment. Wanting to add some extra detail to one of the bottom panels, I added a storm door that is just corrugated cardboard. Now you can buy sheets of corrugated cardboard, or you can just peel it from any cardboard box that you have. Then I started working on some damaged walls that would also be reversible, so the other side would be the interior with that wooden mold. I then created some other pieces that would look like battle damage from the building, and I wanted to put those on the front so that would add some depth to the diorama. Once everything was in place, I disassembled it, put it in a box so I could give it a black wash with black acrylic paint and some water. This would make everything look dirty and distressed. Once all of the black wash has dried, now it's time to put it inside the IKEA Detolf. That back panel has been placed in the back of the shelf. Here is the bottom base piece that will act as the concrete ground. That fits there. Nothing here is magnetized. Everything will just rest against the shelf. Here are my wall panels. I'll start assembling them from the bottom. The next piece I'm putting in will actually have the garage door, so the exposed brick will face the outside of the shelf. This way you'll be able to see that detail. I will also be adding some random pieces of broken building. This way it just adds some more depth to the actual diorama. Now where the glass shelf would usually go onto those arms, I'm putting this piece of foam as a base. This is the wood version. So if I have it on the side with the wood, that would mean it's the interior of like a warehouse. And when I flipped it to the other side, it would be more of the interior of it, like the inside of an apartment. So I'm just putting these panels on just to see how it would look. And when it's on this side, I'll have all the brick facing in. So now I'm just going to demonstrate here when I want to flip it to the other side. I think this is what I'm primarily going to display it as, just to add some contrast from the bottom floor as the inside of the warehouse and the top floor as the inside of an apartment. So I remove the panels, flip the base over to reveal that black and white tile. Now I'm adding the wall pieces where you can see the molding and the wood. I wanted to give the top walls a little extra strength or balance, so I added these side panels. I also did break them and kept the broken pieces just for fodder for future diorama. These pieces are magnetized. Most of the pieces on this diorama are not magnetized because they would just be able to fit in place nice and snug. Now I'm going to add some additional pieces that would look like broken parts of the exterior of the building. I cut a little slot where these pieces would fit right over the arms of where the base of the shelf would go. They're going to fit right into there, and they are magnetized, so these are the other pieces that are magnetized. And I mentioned before, I saved the pieces that were cut out to make the building look battle damaged. And these can be modular, they can be placed wherever you'd like them. Another touch that I had, I was able to purchase this 3D printed logo from the Xmen off of eBay. I'm going to put this at the bottom of the display just as a nice touch. So one last thing before I put the Sentinel and the figures in, I made a handful of these broken brick, and I'm just going to throw them into the diorama, let them land where they lie, and this would just add a nice little detail for the diorama. Alright, so the Sentinel is inside the diorama. He fits great. Can't wait to get some of the figures in. I did put the figures in before, and I took a few pictures to post in the Marvel Legends Facebook group. And I did get a lot of support from that Facebook group, and someone did make a joke that he kind of looks like the Kool-Aid man busting through a wall. Thanks, Facebook.
Oh yeah!
Anyways, I thought that was funny. But this Sentinel came with some cool extras. I'm going to be using some of the extra parts as part of the diorama, so that broken hand could be from another Sentinel. This battle damage head, that'll just be on the base so I can put some figures on top, but definitely a cool addition when I start putting the figures in. So let's get a closer look at this diorama and get some of the figures in. Alright folks, we've completed our HasLab Sentinel diorama. If you like this content, please leave a like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell so that you get notifications of when I post my next episode. Until then, catch you next time.